Welcome back, fellow coders. My name is Fernando, and today's video I'm going to guide you through my process that I use when solving programming challenges in Codewars. I've used a few other websites such as HackerRank, but I haven't used those as much as Codewars. Now, before we get started, I want to give a quick short announcement of why I haven't been putting out videos for the last couple of weeks. So I had a terrible loss in the family. My mother-in-law passed away, and well, we had to deal with that, which was very emotional. And yeah, no, don't have any words for that. But well, we got done with burying her, and then we went into Hurricane Harvey mode. So luckily our house didn't get flooded. The streets were flooded pretty bad, but we survived the hurricane, which is not a lot of people can say in this area. So anyways, I'm trying to get back up and running, and I know I have my weather app tutorial series, and I haven't been doing any on that. So I want to do something quick and kind of give you some ideas on how you can keep progressing your programming abilities throughout your career. Now, instead of doing 10 or 12 videos, which takes a lot of my time on editing, I'm just going to do a quick long video on this whole process, and then I'm going to put time marks on the description, as well as other links like for Java reference for a few of the things that is going to be helpful for you for this specific challenge, which deals with strings and string builder in particular as well. So without further ado, let's get started. So the website that I'm talking about is called Codewars, and if you go to the website, you just have to sign up and do some simple programming questions. And you can join at www.codewars.com, and I'm going to put the link on the description as well. You can join for just about any language, Java, Python. Let's see, this particular challenge is for all of these languages. So just check it out and browse around and see what you can do with it. In Codewars, the challenges are called katas. And it's sort of like a martial arts driven ranking. So the lower their number, the easier the kata is supposed to be. So in this case, today we're doing number 5, but it's not too difficult, and it's something I thought we'll be having fun doing. And I'm also going to put the link for this particular kata, which is called Convert String to a Camel Case. So step number 1 is obviously finding a kata in your preferred language that you think you can solve. And even if you think you can't solve it, just give it a try. You might be surprised. The second thing that you need to do is read the instructions. Now, the instructions for this kata are not too hard. We just need to complete this one method, and we need to make sure that we return the correct string back. So it needs to do, the first word can be capitalized only if the original word is capitalized. So in other words, the first word, we don't need to worry about doing anything to that word, but we do need to worry about all the other words. We need to make sure that all of these are uppercase. So we have read the requirements. Now it's time to jump into our IDE. Now I am using IntelliJ IDEA. I've used Eclipse for so long, but I wanted to try something new to see if it's better. It is just a personal preference. Everything that we can do on IntelliJ, you can basically do on Eclipse or whatever IDE you're using. So the first thing that we need to do when we are in IDE, we need to create the project locally. Now there's a few reasons why you'll want to do this, is because you can debug and you can create your own test. You can create your own test on the web server on the Codewars website as well, but I just think it's more intuitive to create everything on your machine. So we'll create a Java project, and I'm just going to call this one Live Katas. You can name it whatever you want, live challenges, or whatever you like. Doesn't matter. Now we need to do one thing before we start. We need to add a new directory called tests. And then we need to make sure that this folder is marked as a test folder. So you go to modules, select test folder, and mark it as a test folder. And you'll see here you should have source as blue and test as green. Now that we have our project structure, we can go ahead and our classes. Now let's create a new class here called solution. Delete everything, and we're going to copy all of this. And paste it. Now that we have this, let's make this public. Now that we have copied our solution class, it's time to create our test. And you can, when you have your cursor on solution, click Alt Enter, and you can create a test here. If you're getting something other than this window, then you need to make sure that test has been selected as your test root folder. We'll use JUnit 4. We'll fix it, and we'll use this first one. And we'll go ahead and select OK. Now we have our solution test. If we go back to the site, we'll want to copy the test as well, and we can just replace everything. We know that our expected output should be, the first word should be whatever it is from the input, whether it's lowercase or uppercase, and then all the other words should be uppercase. We can create another test where the input is all lowercase, or even if another test where the input is one is lowercase and the other one is uppercase, just to give some more of the test, just to test for everything. But in a real scenario, I will create a test right now and then do my solution. But I want to show you something first. So we're going to start with these 2 tests, and then we'll come back and add 2 more. And in IntelliJ, you can also switch back to the test subject if you hit Shift Command T, and that will bring you back to the test subject. Okay, so in Codewars, there's tons of challenges based around strings and things like that. You need to learn how to deal with strings, obviously, and there's lots of classes that help you out with that. String Builder for one. You can also use character for certain things. So let's go ahead and add some variables. Camel case string is going to be our first variable. Always remember to give your variables names that are going to be helpful. Then we'll create a string builder. I'll just call it SB. And we'll just initialize it without giving it any parameters. Okay, so the algorithm is going to start here. But before I get into that, I want to show you something really quick and see if we can get away with solving this challenge by doing something simple. Let's do sb2 string and then replace all dashes and underscores, and we'll replace it with nothing. So basically we're just removing the underscore and the dashes. Then we'll return the camel case string. So click on solution and let's go back to our test. Command Shift T. And let's go ahead and run this. That didn't work. Let's see. Yes, we need to give it a string. So in this case, we need to pass the parameter here. And by the way, I'm not going to edit any errors that I make through, along the way. I want you to get the raw feeling of solving problems on the go. So originally I was planning on making a video and give you the whole algorithm at once. So because I'm showing you something quick here, I forgot to put the S. So just a quick mistake. If we run it again, and then you see that we have both tests are okay. So let's take this solution, copy the solution, and let's put her on the website and see what happens. So let's just run the sample test, which is the same test that we already ran on our local machine. And as we already knew, those two pass. Okay, so now let's attempt to run. When you click the attempt, it's going to run other tests besides this too. Sometimes it can run defined tests that whoever created this kata has already assigned, but it can also have random tests, and those are sometimes hard to predict because you have to think about all the outcomes. Let's go ahead and click the attempt. and just see what we get. Well, we actually did pretty good for having a couple of lines in our method. We passed 5 out of 7, which is pretty good. So let's look at some of the ones that we didn't pass. Yeah, so see right here, have. This H should be uppercase, and I told you I want to show you this at the beginning. We haven't actually done any unit tests for this, and that's the reason why I did this on purpose. I wanted to show you that when you design your program and when you think of all the possible outcomes, you can create as many unit tests as you want to possibly catch everything that can happen in the method. In this case, we already knew that we needed 2 more unit tests to test for this particular problem right here. So with that in mind, let's go back to our program. And actually tackle this problem now. I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to take the string parameter off. So when you are tackling challenges, you need to think in steps. So what is the first thing I wanted to do when we receive this string input? So for me, I think the first thing I wanted to do is to separate each word into an array. And we can do that easily. Let's put a comment here. Comments are very helpful, as you might already know. And we'll need a string array. It's going to be a word list. And we're going to use a split method, which is provided by the string class. And basically we're going to split the long string, which is S, and every word that's split by either a dash or an underscore is going to be put into a separate index on the string array. Step number 2 is make all the words uppercase, except for the first one. And we can do that with a for loop. So we already know that the first word doesn't need anything. So we'll append that to the string builder. And I could have literally put a 0 here, but maybe there's something else was happening, so I'll just put the I just to make sure. And then after the first word, then we can check if it's uppercase or lowercase, and then we can do that, do what we need to do. So we have another if. And these are the two things we need to do inside this if. Now, character has a method which checks for this. And with a string, you can actually get one character at a time with this at method. In this case, we want the first letter, which is character index 0. So if the character is already uppercase, then we don't need to do anything. And that's it for that. Now, if it's lowercase, we need to make sure that we can convert the first letter to uppercase. And we can do that easily as well with a few string methods. So let's actually create a temporary string here. And we need to make the first letter, which is going to be a substring 0 to 1 to uppercase. That takes care of the first letter. And then we'll just add the rest of the letters with the substring begin. Lastly, we just need to append the already uppercase letter, uppercase word, I'm sorry. And that's all we need to do here. I have, let's see. And lastly, before the return, we need to do sp to string method. Save that and let's run our test to see what are we looking at. So let's copy this test. Test all lowercase. And we'll change that. Okay, and then on this one, we'll test some lowercase. And we can do this too. Yeah, we can do the first one to lowercase and leave this one as uppercase. Save that and run the test. And what do you know? All the tests fail. Now, I made this on purpose just to give you a few ideas on how to debug programs. So let's actually see what's happening. Let's put a breakpoint on our first test and debug. With F7, you can step in and you can see all the things that you can do when you're debugging here. So we know that the input is to Stealth Warrior. Now we are in our method. So let's check the word list to make sure that the words were split correctly, and they are. Okay, let's keep going. All of the words in this case are uppercase, so everything should work correctly. The first word, nothing should happen. It should be appended, and it was appended, as you can see here. No, actually, here. Now we are on the second word, which is stealth. This is index 1. So it should go here. It is in uppercase, as you can see here. So it should be added to the string builder as well. I'm not sure what happened there. I think, let's see. We're index number 2 now. And as you can see, I've made the mistake here where you can actually do anything about 2. So this should be greater or equals than 1. And that's one of our problems. So let's go ahead and stop the debugging. And change this into a greater sign. Let's see what happens when we run the test again. Okay, now we are getting 1 pass now. So it's getting a little better. Test all lowercase, which is this one, has passed. Now for some reason, something's happening when there are uppercase. So let me go back to the solution and just visualize to see if I've made any mistakes. Okay, so for some reason I completely missed the whole if statement. We should have something similar as the uppercase on top. and just move that in there, as well as this. And these are good things for you to know, how to spot problems. That we know we have a problem with somewhere in here, so you come in here and visualize, and if you can spot it, visualize, then you keep debugging. So let's run the solution test again. And now all of our tests pass. Now there's one thing I want you to keep in mind when doing this type of challenges. Whenever you submit to the actual website, the tests that you can see might be a little bit more extensive. So for example, just think about what will happen if I'm going to copy this test here. What we actually call tests for special characters. What will happen if I put an asterisk here and add sign here? You think the test is going to pass? It's probably not going to pass, and that's because we haven't dealt with these special characters. So I'm going to leave that up to you on how to fix it, and if you do if you figure it out, you probably will, just make a video and tag me in. Obviously, if there are any special characters, you probably want to check here before you try to split with this. You'll want to check here, and you'll want to check with a regex. And I'm going to leave a link on the description just to kind of point you to the right direction of how you can check for certain types of special characters on a string. And I think we did a lot on this video. We learned a little bit about debugging and a little bit about testing. But more importantly, I hope you learn a lot about how you can just keep progressing on Codewars. I mean, you can start from the easy challenges all the way to the hardest ones, and just keep working at it. So before we go, let's go ahead and submit the solution to the website. Let's see what we get. And we have passed all of the tests. And once you pass all the tests, then you can safely hit submit final. Then you'll be able to get a score from this, and this is going to stay there for the next time. In addition to that, you're going to be able to see other people's solutions, and that's also helpful because then you can compare things. For example, if you take a look at this solution, I think our solution is simpler than this. But as with programming, you can always skin the cow in multiple ways. So, but this is a lot simpler as well. you can compare and join in the discussion as well. So one more thing that I would like to point out is there's this thing about test-driven development, and you can program either way. I'm not against one another. I'm not against one or the other, I should say. You can, most of the time, you can think of all the tests that you want to do before you do the program and before you do all the algorithms. But sometimes you can't think of everything, and I think that's important to realize that sometimes there's going to be some loopholes, and you need to close those loopholes with your test. So I hope you learned a lot on this video, and remember to code with a purpose. Thank you for watching.